We are going to be talking about area this week, and area is when you look at the space inside of a shape. So when you do area, you use one object that is the same size over and over and over, and they need to line up perfectly inside the shape with no gaps, no spaces between them, and you can't overlap pieces. So if these are like squares, you can't have your squares stacked up on top of each other. They need to be perfectly flat and touching side to side. This would be a way that you don't do it. See how there's this gap and this gap here? This is not how you get a good measure of area. Look at this number 5 square. Do you see how it's pushed on top of the 4 square? This is not the correct way to measure area. They need to fit perfectly next to each other, no gaps and no overlaps. This is how you find area correctly. The area of this rectangle is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 square units because they used squares, okay? So when you're doing area of other rectangle shapes, this is a long rectangle, and if you put those square units inside, you get exactly 4 of them. So this has a 4 square unit. This one, if I fill in all of the spaces, I would get another 6 square units, just like that other one. And there are other ways that you can do this. Again, keeping them perfectly side by side with no gaps and no overlaps is the only way you can do area correctly. So, back when we were in school, we had these square tiles, which are all little squares and they're all the exact same size. So this is great. You probably don't have these at home, so you can use other things. You can take a piece of paper and fold it over and over like we did to make the rulers last week. And if you cut those out, you can lay them on top of things to measure. You can use Lego pieces. As long as you use the same piece over and over, the same size piece, it'll be fine. So if I want to find the area of this shape that kind of looks like an L, I don't want to just stick them on. Like this is not going to be the right way to do it because I've got all these gaps here. You want to push your pieces so that they go exactly inside with no gaps and no overlaps. That means my pieces aren't stacked. They need to be flat and touching. And so I keep going until I fill up my shape to find the area inside my shape. Oops, no overlaps. And there we go. So I just want to make sure I've got all of my pieces. There's no gaps. There's no overlaps, and they all fit right inside of my shape. Now I can count the area. And when I count the area, I want to go in a straight line so I don't accidentally count something twice. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That means this is another 6. 6 plus 6 is 12. 13, 14, 15, 16. So this shape, I would say, has 16 square units. This shape looks a bit different than this one. I don't think they're going to have the same area, but I'm going to use the exact same pieces to check the area of this square. So I'm going to grab more of these squares, same exact things. I'm going to place them inside. And as I do that, again, no overlaps, no gaps. I don't have enough pieces, so I'm going to have to borrow. This is definitely a different size. Perfect. No overlaps, no gaps. So this would be 3, 6, 9 square units. Okay? Again, area is when you count the inside of a shape using something over and over that is the same size. If you have sticky notes at home, you can stick sticky notes on top of shapes to measure. You can use a toilet paper tube and smoosh it down into a square. Let me show you. We have toilet paper at home. You probably have a toilet paper tube sitting in your trash can or your recycling bin right now, but just grab a toilet paper tube, okay? You're gonna smush it down and look, crease till it's flat, okay? And then you're just gonna smush it the other way, crease it, okay? And now you've got a square unit. You can use this, we can put some paint on here if you want, and then you can stamp it. You have to be careful if you do this. Don't let the square stamps overlap. Be very careful when you're pushing this down and make sure that you don't go on top of another square. That way you can count accurately, okay? But you can use anything at the house to measure area. Just make sure you use the same thing over and over. So don't go grab a paper towel roll and use a paper towel roll with a toilet paper tube. Choose one and stick with it, okay?